Hi guys, thanks for clicking the video. Welcome back to the channel. Okay, so I'm getting ready to do some fret leveling on a couple of the guitars behind me. We're at that stage now where we need to get it ready to get everything together and get them playing. Now, one of the best tools to use for fret leveling is one of these leveling beams. Possibly the most versatile tool that you'll have. You can literally use these for anything that involves sanding, flattening, shaping, carving. The list is literally endless. So these are really useful. Mine are from Crimson, although there are a lot of places now that are supplying these, and it's basically just extruded aluminium, and obviously because of that it's extremely strong. It's also very light, which is good for when you're handling it and using it, because it's not very taxing to use them. And basically you just attach various grits of sandpaper and away you go. Now, there are varied ways of doing this, so I thought I'd show you the way I do mine, which is a quick and simple way of getting it ready to use. So I have a variety of grits on mine, from 80 to 320 grit for different applications, and to attach them I use masking tape and double-sided tape, because it's quick, clean, easy to do, and as I'll show you in a little while, replacing it is very easy. You can achieve the same thing with masking tape and super glue, although if the super glue spooges, it's a bit more of a faff to clean it up. But I've just found that for me, this is the quickest and easiest way of doing it. So I've already done these three. Well, I've got the 8-inch ones left to do. So I've already applied masking tape to both sides, and one thing I learned early on was stick a piece of masking tape on it so you can write what grit you're putting on it, so you don't get confused and forget what it is. Yeah, little things make life a lot easier. So on this one we're going to be having 80 grit and 120 grit, and I've got the paper prepped on the bench, held down with some masking tape just so it's nice and flat, and then we can get it stuck on. So masking tape's already on, and add the double-sided tape. So there's a little bit of a fold over on that end, so I'm just going to trim that off, because you want it to be as flat and smooth as you can, otherwise it defeats the object of using a leveling beam. And I know some will say that adding 2 layers of tape is going to affect the leveling beam, but to be honest, I've not found it makes that much of a noticeable difference for the applications that I use them for. So yeah, if you get into the realms where you're having to measure things in microns, then yes, but for what I do, it doesn't make a difference. So remove the backing, and so this side is going to be 80 grit, and now we get to the reason why I've got the sandpaper taped onto the bench. So line it up so you've got coverage, press it down, and then get your scalpel, X-Acto knife, whichever you're using, and there you go. So that's the 80 grit side done. So now we repeat the process for the 120. Line it up with the edge, make sure you've got the whole leveling beam covered, press it down, and there we go. So that leveling beam is now loaded with 80 and 120 grit sandpaper, and as you can see, that took seconds to sort out and do. Now, so I'm done with that. For the finer grits, I use these rolls that any tool supplier, woodworking supplier, you should be able to get from. You know, in the UK, we know them as, like, you know, carpenter's sanding kit or sanding set or something, and you usually get 3 or 4 grades of sandpaper in a box that are on these tiny little rolls, and you know, as you see, they're quite narrow strips, so they're good for, you know, all applications, but they're quite useful for reloading these leveling beams. So this is an old one that's well used, that has 180 and 320 grit in it. Now, the reason I put a layer of masking tape in is so that when it's dead, you can peel it off and it is completely clean, no messing around, no cleaning up super glue or anything like that, and it's ready to go for the next one. So that's it, ready to reload. Get rid of you. These leveling beams are 1 inch wide, so obviously if you can, find masking tape that's the right width. This is just slightly narrower than the beam, but it will do the job. Right, so that's both sides masked up. I mean, if you can't find narrow tape, it's not really any great shakes to have to trim it down. But if you do have to do that, put the masking tape on first and then trim it. Don't try and cut it to size and then stick it on. It's just easier to have it attached and then trim off the excess. Right, so that's both sides loaded. So you get the backing off, check this out, so this side's going to be 180, nope, that's 320, there we go, 180, okay. These strips have usually got the grit printed on the back that tell you what grade it is, so I always try and make sure that that is visible on the excess that I remove, so I know what grit it is, because these little strips also come in very useful. Give it a this just to make sure it sticks. Trim that. So yeah, now, so I can see there sticking out above it says 180, because the first couple of times I did this I cut the other side off and I didn't know what grit I left over, which was a bit annoying. There we go. Now these little strips you can use for getting into awkward places, you know, curves, rebates, all that kind of stuff. You can stick them onto a scrap piece of wood so you can use it as a tool. Very useful to have braid. Right, so this side will be 320. And again, just check the numbers. And there we go. Now, as you can see, that took minutes to sort out, and all my leveling beams are now ready to go with brand new sandpaper. Nice, quick, simple and clean. So hope this helps. Hit like, subscribe, it'll be very much appreciated, and yeah, have fun whatever you're doing, stay safe, and we'll see you on the next one. Cheers.